Today's topic, the HSA ticking time bomb you didn't even know you had. In my experience, employers typically offer an HSA plan for one of two reasons. The first is savings, and that's the primary reason I see. The second is tax advantages, or a tax shelter for your highly compensated individuals. Regardless of the reason, the payroll deductions are almost always the least in an HSA plan when offered alongside a traditional PPO. And if you have low earners, they enroll in this plan because it's all that they can afford. The problem is you just inadvertently started the timer on the HSA bomb, and here's why. Deductibles on these types of plans range from typically $1,500 to $6,000. So let's imagine one of your employees is making about $40,000 a year and is diabetic, and they enrolled in the HSA plan. They can't afford their medications, so they go without them, because an expensive medication is the difference between putting food on the table or their ability to pay their rent. Now, a couple years go by and they're in kidney failure, and the dialysis costs alone are costing the employer $250,000 per year for the next 3 years. The worst part is the employee is now in collections because they can't even afford their deductible. It's unfortunate because this was preventable, but the cost barrier for the employee was just too big. The biggest proof of this is in 2020 when COVID-19 hit. The foregone care from COVID-19 was a massive explosion, and it was highly visible because the cause and effect happened over a 1 to 2 year time frame. Meanwhile, the HSA ticking time bombs have been going off all around us for the last 20 years of foregone care. This slow bleed wasn't as visible, but I can assure you that the combined impact far outweighs anything from COVID-19. So let's go back to the two reasons that employers typically offer an HSA plan, and let me provide some advice. The first is savings, and my advice is simple here. Don't expect an HSA plan to save you money in the long run. The short-term gain in savings is likely going to be outweighed by the long-term ticking time bombs. The second reason is for tax advantages, and my advice here is if you want to implement an HSA to give your highest earners a tax shelter, you should do it. It's a great reason. But if you do, just make sure you set the payroll deductions for this plan as the highest payroll deductions amongst all the plans that you offer. That way, you don't get people enrolling in the plan that you didn't intend to. Lower earners are almost always going to look for the cheapest option out there. Lastly, if you only offer one plan, and that's an HSA plan, you should strongly consider a different strategy that will control costs over time.